All right. I think we're ready to get started. It's so weird not having like audio sounds in like the intro. Usually, like the Valheim game sounds are playing or something like that. How we doing, everybody? Greg Scott Bailey here. Welcome to my stream. This is the first stream of hopefully many where we're going to be creating a comic book. I'm going to be doing digital art, so had to scramble and try to get all this set up as best as I could. So that's another reason we're starting a little bit late today. But we're live on Twitch, YouTube, Kick, and so when you want to come and watch it live, pick your pick your viewing pleasure. But what I'm essentially going to do is we'll keep the VODs going on YouTube, of course, and see where this takes us. So it's just going to be a 2-hour session today. We'll do the same for tomorrow. We'll be back to Valheim on Wednesday, and then we will be doing drawing on Thursday and Friday. And then in Valheim, kind of a double header on Saturday, will be the trophy hunt series. We'll continue that. And then there's a trophy hunt tournament that I've entered for Saturday evening. So we'll see how that goes. Now, again, this is a different configuration than I'm usually turned this way, facing my main bank of monitors here. So we'll see how it goes. I do technically have a second pair of headphones underneath these headphones. I'm going to attempt to listen to music. I'm sorry I can't broadcast it, but DMCA rules state that I can't because I don't have the authorization to broadcast the music I want to play and listen to. So, and of course, for those that are aware, I could do something like Stream Beats or something where it's not copyrighted music to, or it's what do you call it? But it's free use that you can broadcast it. But specifically, when I get into a drawing mood, with no disrespect to Stream Beats or any other music, when I get in the mood, I get in the mood with the music that I am in the mood for at that time. So that's always the downside. So see how that goes. Like I said, it's gonna be interesting because I'm playing it on a Bluetooth um a Bluetooth headset underneath my big clamshell ones here. And the only reason technically I'm using these is because I got the microphone here currently. We have not hooked up the wave microphone yet. No, YouTube music. Do hope everybody's had a good start to their week. So far, mine's been busy. Otherwise, I probably would have done the 4-hour stream, but honestly, it's just the time is trying to fit all the time brackets in between doing my day job and doing streaming and having some semblance of a life is well, it's just hard to manage sometimes. Real quick over on the chats over on Twitch, Brent, how you doing? Good to see you. Remember me from Saturday? Yes, yeah. How's your Valheim adventures going? Appreciate you stopping on by. I think the system was telling me you had messaged earlier. Yeah, for those that don't know, if you are on Twitch, you could see my calendar. I'm trying to keep that updated on Mondays. So my streaming calendar should be updated on Twitch. If you're not checking there, you could check my Twitter page or X. Hate that. X.com/Greg Scott Bailey, and it'll be the pinned message on my page for Twitter. And of course, if you're a Patreon supporter, you have access to either my Patreon update, which will have the calendar every week, or the Discord access. If you're a paid tier supporter, you have access to the Discord. And in the streaming section in there, I have the calendar usually in there as well. Trying to remember, did we did we post it this time? We were on this together. Yeah, I did. Today at 5:37 p.m. I've got like so many different windows up right now. This is the one thing I haven't done in quite a bit, and if we're gonna make this a regular thing, I have to try to find a what do you call it? A way to pull out. You can't see it, but what you're seeing right here is broadcasting on a flat surface. You can kind of see the shadow of it when I do this. But yeah, so it's a tablet monitor, XP Pen Pro 22E is the model. I got it like 5 years ago and couldn't afford the what's big company that did these. Couldn't afford Wacom's big one, so I went ahead and went with this one, and it's been working great since. I just have to do it. Have to do things, you know. What's up, Brenda? Doing pretty good. That's good to hear. Getting your first bronze gears. So nice. Okay. Yeah, let me know how that goes. Cause yeah, the bronze gear can be pretty fun. You know, I think we had mentioned before, not to talk too much Valheim while I'm gonna do this, but we had mentioned before that I was gonna do a new series probably after March where I'll start fresh again. And I'm starting to think about one that I tried to do before. I said like a little bit of everything is what I called it. I'll probably call it something similar to that or different. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to make every single thing that you can make at the level you can make it, and try to pull that off if I can. And which means it's a long extended series before I even get to higher level stuff. But you know, I want to build. I want to have a lot of that casual fun. So we'll see how that goes. Dasha, good morning to you. How you doing, buddy? And Brent, sorry, yeah, I don't have a command for points. I don't have a lot of commands to be honest. Yeah. I gotta figure out how the hell I'm gonna keep my headset from dangling over my legs. The one darndest thing about drawing and drawing streams is the fact that like every little thing like can get to me when all I want to do sometimes is just draw. Um Now naturally, oops, is it gonna cooperate? Already getting the circle O-ring of death. Also, since it's a Photoshop on another monitor, for some reason, it puts all of its like drop down menus and everything on my main monitor. And I tried looking up why it's doing that. Now I don't want to make this my main monitor. I don't want to tell the computer because I don't have this hooked up all the time. All right, what's going on? There we go. All right, and of course you can't see it, but it's underneath where I got GOBIMAC, and we're gonna close that dock right now. So what I did is I created a new layer over here, and we're gonna hide this one. That was fun for putting up a quick little, I don't know, a title card for the stream. I think what I'm gonna want to do here is, and I know this might be frustrating for some of my regular viewers who have watched drawing streams in the past. Um, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna probably redraw a lot of my characters. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm having my AG one, not sponsored, but I have been taking it. Try to be a little bit better with my vitamins. But yeah, what I'm going to try to do is we'll redraw a lot of the characters I've drawn before. Some people haven't seen it, so this will be a fresh way to do a new drawing session of my characters. We'll talk about them and the basics of the comic book story that I wanted to do with them, and then I'm going to kind of go into what Gobimac is. Been trying to think of how to say it. GOBIMAC. So what that stands for is good or bad, I made a comic book. So the C is for one full word of comic book. Stanley at one point years ago said that he thought the word comic book should be a fully put together word to describe comic books themselves versus breaking up into comic and book. So I for whatever reason since that day I've stuck with it. What is that? Now, did anybody hear that message alert? Just to make sure it's not broadcasting. Feel like I should do it for this new message alert. Dasha lurking while you work. All right. And Brent, how long have I been drawing for? Since I was a kid. But I have not been able to draw very much lately in my life. Last 5 years have been other things going on, and 7 years, actually. Now that I think about it, um, but yeah, I tried to initially go into comic books when I was 18, getting out of high school, going into comic books, and 2D, 3D animation was what I was going to go to for school to get my initial associates in art degree. But unfortunately, life happened and then kept happening and it kept stacking on me. And so part of what this is something I did in 2003. I wrote 3 issues of a comic book that I initially called Mock Tales, and that's Tales, like telling a tale. And mock as in like a mock wedding or a mock trial. You do the practice run before the rest. So mocktail to me was life. What you go through in life is how you end up having your tale that you tell everybody around the campfire, or in whatever modern way around the cooler, the water cooler at the office. Online when we're talking in chat rooms and social media. So mocktail is life. It's going through everything, and then you have your story to tell. Real quick, is everything broadcasting okay? I see the circle of death on Kick. So yeah, it only says I have one viewer on Kick. If that one viewer is able to chat, please do let me know. It may just be that my replay on theirs. Okay, I refreshed it, and it does show a live feed. And YouTube still has my starting screen with the Valheim character. We'll try to get a separate drawing stream start start image or whatever for these drawing streams. The Valheim one's kind of fun, but I change that. Okay, so where was I? Because I think those are all working now. Yes, 2003. I initially had had started a comic book script. Wrote 3 issues of the script for what I had called mocktails at the time. And let's see where we're at as far as broadcast. This is about middle. Okay. But yeah, so what I had done, oops, wrote the 3 issues, and I tried a couple different times sketching it and doing page layouts and doing all the things that you're supposed to do to preemptively do a comic book, and I was having trouble doing it. And then I ended up kind of putting together like part of the story of the first story I had pulled out, and I did like a separate smaller book, smaller story that I was trying to see if I could do like a short story first and see if it's easier for me to illustrate, and struggled with that. And again, this is 2003 going to 2004. So then I ended up hiring a guy, Rob Hicks, to draw the little short story that I did, and he did a pretty good job. I really enjoyed what he put together for me, especially with how limited I was at trying to put together, um, something that somebody else could draw. Because the hard part is when I myself have everything in my mind, then I'm asking somebody to draw it. Then I almost sit there and go, well, I might as well draw it myself, right? So, yeah, Rob ended up putting together what's basically an ash can. Um, uh, and my definition of an ash can might be different from what other people consider an ash can comic. But to me, it was creating a comic book that you could put on 8.5 by 11 photocopy paper, 8 inches by 11.5 inches photocopy paper. And you essentially fold that in half, and then you staple it. And what was easy about that is that I could take it to Kinko's at the time, FedEx office now. I could take it to that and I could print out the black and white copies. It becomes a affordable and costly, not costly, a affordable way to do a short little comic book. The highest cost of that was printing out a color cover wrap that you would put over top of it. But it was easy at the FedEx office. They had the big long staple machine that you could then staple the pieces together, fold it. So we did that. Took it to comic book conventions, Emerald City Comic Con, and others, and I tried to get people interested. Didn't really do much in sales at that point. I had dabbled a little bit with doing what do you call it? Fan art, doing, drawings of Wolverine, Batman, Spider-Man, whatever, right? I tried doing some prints of those, but it wasn't really much around the 2004, 2005 time. I didn't really have much like that. I was trying to do my comic book, so I um, wasn't really feeling like I was going to want to do other people's stuff. And so things didn't really take off. I didn't get enough done to get a lot of people interested. So I ended up kind of burning out on that. Sorry, I got something in my eye. Like I said, I'm doing drawing, and so naturally I'm going to get irritated by every little thing. But physically, when you do have something in your eyelash and you're trying to draw, that sucks. Um, and sorry, Brent, what were you saying here? Trying to stay on the topic of comic book, but were we able to get Rancid Remains trophy? Not yet. Was not able to get yet. No, no worries, man. Yeah, so the I tried to do the comic. Tried to go to Emerald City Comic Con, local comic convention in Seattle, and I tried to do a couple others. I think like Spokane Comic Con. It was um, or was it Lilac City Comic Con? No, first it was Spokane Comic Con, and then there was a Lilac City Comic Con, but they were both in Spokane. Anyways, tried to do those conventions, tried to branch out, and yeah, just tried to put stuff online. Um, didn't really get any kind of traction, and since I didn't really have much of a story or book put together, um, in all honesty, it's like I can't blame anybody for um, not being interested in what I'm doing. So, um, then around that time, yeah, I ended up getting married, had 3 kids, and, yeah, life, kinda shifted into, somewhat where I'm trying to work a job, take the hours that I can take, to make it work. Again, 5 people in the family, 3 kids, my wife and myself. And so at that time, you're trying to without really any kind of knowledge of what the hell you're gonna do in life to make it work. I did what I could, and I made it work. I worked night shifts, worked the overtime, worked all that stuff. And the hard part is as an artist, you're still sitting there wanting to create, still wanting to put things together. But for the sake of responsibilities, you still have to, sleep properly, which I sucked at. Go to work, which I sucked but got better at. And then try to make things work as best as possible with your family. You spoiler alert. Then I got divorced, and so the hard part there is now as a divorced father of 3, um, trying to figure out what to do in life with the cards that are on the table. And I tried then saying, okay, well, I'm working this day job, and I'm making okay money, but I got 3 kids. I would like to do what I want to do in life while also trying to make a little bit extra money. And so I did try to do um, the fan art prints route, that around the 2008, 2009, when The first Iron Man came out, The Dark Knight. Um, around that time of the comic book thematic things, the movies were just starting to get really good for comic books. Admittedly, I really was into X-Men and Spider-Man when they came out, both the Sam Raimi Spider-Man and the was it Bryan Singer X-Men's. I was really into what came out then, but then subsequently you had like some okay other ones like Punisher. The Ghost Rider ones were fun. Daredevil I enjoyed. A lot of other people did. And the Ben Affleck, Jennifer Garner one. So that stuff was fun and everything like that, but it didn't really just have epic all over it. And then the Dark Knight came out because Batman Begins was all right, but then the Dark Knight came out and Iron Man came out, and that's when it was kind of like, oh, okay. And so around that time, I had I had said, okay, hey, buddy of mine, you're going to these conventions and you're selling your artwork, your fan artwork. Hey, can I go to one of the conventions with you, help you, and then learn from it, right? See what you're doing for sales. And so I went and helped my buddy at New Orleans, Wizard World New Orleans. Yeah, that's what it was. Man, it seems like forever ago. Um, yeah, helped him out and got to see what it was like, and got just kind of rough idea of what I could do. And then I proceeded from that point on, about 2010 to 2014, almost 15, horribly and miserably fail at selling comic art prints at conventions. And as our circle kind of grew of everybody that kind of knew each other that was going to these conventions, some of us teaming up on hotels and costs and everything like that. I started kind of getting an idea of what was working, what wasn't working. And this isn't an exact number. I'm going to use a very arbitrary number. But if I made $10 at a convention, the other people I knew were making $100 to $200 at a convention. I'll say it that way. It was that extreme of a difference. Um, and some of my counterparts there had essentially like just they had the salesmanship down. They had the quantity of art and new art and fresh art. Thematically, they were doing stuff around the same time that people were really into some trendy stuff. Basically, everything that they did and they worked on had worked, and I didn't. Um, and I told the story before, but only two conventions out of about 4 or 5 years of doing conventions did I ever make enough money that went over cost of the show. So if the show cost me $600 to do, buying the table, the airfare, the hotel. I don't know, 600 is actually pretty low, but if it was that kind of a situation, only two conventions I made maybe like 50 to $100 over the cost. So I had to sit there and I had to kind of just come to reality that I was not doing very well with that. And if it's costing me money, that I'm not doing what I set out to do, which was to make extra money. And roughly going all the way up to I think 2018, I had attempted to do a little bit more here or there, tried to make it work, and it was that definition of insanity. I keep trying to do the same thing, and it's not working. Every time I keep trying it, and I wasn't changing up things enough um, to make any kind of significant change or impact. um, when I did try to say, "Hey, why don't I try this instead of that?" And I started getting into some debts doing that too, and that wasn't good. I started not fulfilling art projects for customers that were commissioning me, and this is getting into what I've kind of talked about, in the past couple of years. So because I wasn't able to get a lot of this stuff done, and I wasn't basically being a very good um, business practitioner. Is that the way to put it? I had slowly just phased it out, just as I was also getting closer and closer to getting the job that moved me to Atlanta, Georgia. And that job ended up becoming a promotion. It is the job at my day job that I essentially always wanted, because if I was going to work there, I wanted to have a job role that essentially was what I'm in now for the past 5 years. So, and there's of course a lot more details personally that I'm not going to go into, but it's one of those things where, yeah, I just had to kind of come to the decision of like, this is just not working out. And before I knew it, the script I wrote in 2013, and now today it's the year 2025. So that was that 22 years later, plus roughly the last 15 years of divorce situation, and being away from my kids was hard. So trying to figure out what to do in life, and getting to this year was part of the things that I told myself. It's like, okay, I just buckle down and work hard, buckle down and work hard. No, things aren't going to be easy, but I'm just going to keep buckling down and working hard. Well, got to the year 2025, and part of that is what was essentially going to be getting to the summer and fall time period. But yeah, basically, I'm some personal plans have kind of allowed me to kind of push some of this stuff from summer and fall to sooner, to late winter of 2024 going to 2025, and now. So we're gonna head into spring here soon. So um where does that lead us now? So I've been trying to figure out what to do essentially with my artwork. What do I want to create? What do I want to do? Well, I still have the stories that I want to tell that were gonna be mocktails. It's likely gonna be something different. I don't know. Um what GOBIMAC. I may say GOBIMAC, I may say it differently. I don't know. We're building this. This is in progress, right? Um what this might end up being is we'll create basically a good or bad. I made a comic book. Um, create at least the first anthology story of characters like this. And now I'm just doodling roughly my character Tim Garn. Um, he's definitely not going to look like this in the first issue. So, um, or maybe he will. I don't know. But, yeah, this is the warm up to get me kind of into this again, because I haven't drawn in so long. But yeah, the idea is I'll do the anthology kind of story. We'll put multiple stories in. I'm at least gonna do 3, and that is, again, what was gonna be mocktails. So it'll be Tim Garn, my character Aneda, and Lily, which I'll draw them next. Um, and then the other story, that I had, Doctor Demolition, I may still keep that title, but, yeah, Doctor Demolition was my second, story. And then the web comic I was gonna do, Polly Technolust. Polly is the cat girl that I've had for my mascot on streaming, and we haven't drawn anything new for her in the last couple years, so we're gonna have to work on that too. There's a lot to get done. Um, and Brent, yeah, I didn't know I was. Yeah, yeah. Welcome to me. A lot of people don't know that I'm an illustrator, an artist. Yeah, because a drawer doesn't sound right when I say it out loud. Sorry. But yeah, yeah, all my life, I've been into artwork and comic book artwork specifically, and yeah, I just whenever you put your dreams off to the side, I'll just tell you this right now, don't. Find a way to still do it at least almost every day, and stick with it. The art and the hobbies and everything that you want to do in life. Unicorn, how you doing? Good to see you. How you been? Oh, I still never got my music going. Hey, since I got a couple people here, let me know if you can hear the music I'm playing. I'm hoping not, but because I can't broadcast. Did you guys hear any of that? Because the microphone's right here, and I've got another set of headphones underneath the clamshells. So let me know. Did you guys hear that at all? So mostly we got chatters on Twitch, but just in case anybody on is live on YouTube or Kick that wants to chime in. And I don't expect a lot of live viewers, to be honest. No music? Okay. I'm golden? All right. Gotta listen to my Backstreet Boys. Backstreet's back, all right. Actually, what's next? Walking on the Sun by Smash Mouth. Take on Me by Aha. Fly by Sugar Ray. Wow. We didn't start the fire, Billy Joel. Um, there's a way to play music so you don't save to your VOD if you want. Well, yeah, I was mentioning earlier. So you gotta be here when the stream starts. Miss the topic. No, I didn't go into it in depth. What I would do when I get my Wave 3 microphone going is the other thing is I'm hoping I'm not talking over the music, like my voice is going louder even though you guys don't hear the music. It's a natural thing that people react to that. So when I get the Wave 3 mixer, digital mixer going, I'll be able to still pipe in the music to my headphones, but not broadcast it through the streaming and mixer software. So there's that option there. Um, there may be days where I feel comfortable putting like stream beats or other non DMCA issue or concerned music out on the stream. I'm just in the mood for my music, the stuff I want to listen to. Listen, I wanted to, but I didn't get the notification. Oh my goodness. I always hear that a lot of people don't get the notification or they don't get until later that I've gone live. But I've seen that for some of the Twitch streams that I follow. And for the most part, I do try to keep a schedule. I know right now we're kind of feeling things out. Um, so yeah, to rehash, we will be doing drawing stream today, tomorrow. They're 2 hours each, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern time. We'll be back with Valheim on Wednesday, take a quick break. And then Thursday and Friday we'll be drawing streams. It's kind of get me back into doing this. And then the next week after that, I'm gonna try another schedule, see what you guys like, what I'm liking. We'll keep trying to find like a good comfortability there. Um, was it also we didn't start the fire? Fallout. Oh, do you mean Fallout Boy? Okay. Um, you give up on the spelling bee, no worries. We'll eventually get there. And Brent, I actually do not talk about my day job. Not until I'm retired from it. Well, it's nothing super secretive. It's just a professionalism of what I do at my day job stays out of the public stuff I do on Twitch streaming. I try to keep that stuff separate. Um, essentially, I'm an on call person at my day job though, so I can get hit up for something even when I'm live streaming. I have had to cut my streams short because of that, unfortunately. But yeah, I never mind people asking. I totally understand the either the curiosity or just general social question about it. But yeah, I don't talk about it. It'll be in my autobiography in 10 years or 15 years. I don't know. If you all help me go full time with artwork and streaming, I'll tell everybody sooner. That's for sure. Um, okay, so yeah, so basically it's a globule version of the character. It's not really my favorite. It's a warm up sketch, and of course I'm gonna feel like I have to give an excuse for why it's not the way I want it to be, even though you guys are probably fine with it. I'm not sure why the screen keeps blinking every time I'm reacquiring the pen. It's really weird. The Billy Joel is legit, but Fallout Boy is more current. Uh-oh, something disconnect. I don't know. Are you saying Fallout Boy redid We Didn't Start the Fire? I have never heard their version if they did. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, and I'm into like 60 years of music. I'm into a lot of things. See, keeps wanting to. The downside of having this, dare I say, a cheaper quality um, art tablet monitor. Let's do one of these numbers. Let's say she doesn't have as square of a jaw as I'm giving her, but try to warm up. This will be the character Aneda. She is an elf warrior character with the you've seen it in like anime and stuff like that. She's got the longer elf ear style. Um, Now I picked up some clay a couple of years back when I first moved here. One of the things I wanted to do was I've wanted to actually create a 3D model representation of this character. Because the one thing that like a lot of anime and other type of artwork do is they do things to hide the actual physical representation of how a change of the human anatomy would be when it moves over to another creature like an elf. And so like for me, let's do this real quick. No big whoop, but so yeah, if I want to move the ears down like a little bit more, the human ear, roughly, most everybody, bottom of the ear matches with the bottom of your nose. Top of the ear matches with your eyebrows. Again, that's the rough rule rule of thumb. And so if you're gonna make a change, oops, if you're gonna make a change like get this character different kind of ears than what human beings have, what's the rule set? So I've done it before where I've still kept the bottom of the ear where the bottom of the nose would be. Um, and it's like, okay, we'll do it. Do I keep the top where the eyebrows are? Then I've done stuff where I've shifted it down a little bit. And so again, that's why I wanted to get a clay, get a bunch of clay and just like do it in 3D so I could actually see tangibly like how it is. And but yeah, in the meantime, I try to make it work as best as possible. She initially used to have these two long strands that would you know roughly hang off like that. And then I ended up let's see, how are we gonna do this? I think roughly around about there. Yeah, we'll say that that's about there. But yeah, so then I ended up taking like the hair that's in the bangs, um, brow, and everything like that, and I initially made some of these bands kind of stick together here, and then the rest of the hair just pretty much falls back and down. Now the hard part about a lot of this is if you haven't really studied a lot of things like hair and how hair does what it does, and you just kind of do roughly what you think you've seen, and you try to mimic all that stuff, you eventually start creating this rule in your mind that it's just this way. And anatomically, if other people are used to um, how things work, how hair positions and flows and how it sits on the head and everything, you then start getting people going, that doesn't look right. And then you get a self-conscious artist like me that's like, fine, I'm not showing anybody my artwork anymore. Needless to say, I'm a little bit more of a good sport about it these days than I used to be. Um, but yeah, I used to get kind of defensive about it. It's like I just want to draw what I want to draw. Um, we've talked about it on some of my past drawing streams before too, but it's cool and all to want to draw what you want to draw, but if you want to entertain, you got to compromise and you got to find different ways of drawing what you want to draw that people are also interested in. And so that's part of what I've had to learn over the years is and now we're going to apply later on in life. I learned it, I learned about it. Now it's time for me to apply it. So, very rare she's going to have a smile, a little bit of a smirk. Why not? She's a warrior elf. She's got to be serious all the time. Still still going to have a one of her eyebrows dipped down to show how serious she can be. Um Brent, catch the stream tomorrow. Okay. If I can, but for sure Wednesday. No, that's cool. No worries, man. Yeah, if you're mostly into Valheim, we're gonna have the schedule back on somewhat of a track by the following week. You just happened to find my stuff just as I was getting ready to come back to drawing. All right, I do appreciate you having me here, man. You take care. Unicorn, uh, I just shared the ear thing with my daughter because she is the artist in my house, and she gave me the teenage answer of "Duh, mom, I do that." Oh no! But you never know until you ask or talk about it, right? That can happen. So with Aneda here, I've gone back and forth. So this is where I should be getting into talking about some of the characters and stories. I've gone back and forth with her in the particular story universe that we're talking about here, and her particular elf. Um, trying to think of what all I'm willing to talk about because that's the other thing is I don't want to give away too much that's gonna spoil stuff down the road, right? But it's one of these things where it's like, screw it, I'm just gonna do it and say it and talk about it. Um, so she's an elf, but she's also part something else, and admittedly, that's influenced from a variety of a couple different stories, including some anime stories that I've watched over the years. And I'm fond of the idea of having the elf warrior and having the elf warrior that's also another species as well. So these two different species. So I've stuck with that with her character, but she started out as a post-apocalyptic mail carrier, and she was not an elf. She was human when I first created her, and n- I tell myself I have to give myself some um I have to come to terms that I probably saw a advertisement or something for the Kevin Costner movie, The Postman. Because when created her originally, I was in art school for my first year of art school, and The Postman had come out around that time. So I can't say like, well, I created her before the movie came out. You know, the was probably in production for a while, and I probably saw advertisements or something. So after The Postman came out, I then told myself, you know, like, okay, she's not going to be a post-apocalyptic, mail carrier, and she's not gonna be human anymore. So eventually, some of my stories as I got into that 2003 um, part of my life, and I was ready to start writing a script. Um, that's what I ended up doing. Is I ended up saying, okay, we're gonna take this character and we're gonna modify her to fit the aesthetics of what I'm leaning towards now. And that's where the idea of making her an elf and a warrior came into play. Now she did have an axe as a weapon, back then, along with a long enough shaft that was like a two-handed axe, and so I went ahead and carried that over and made it a little bit more medieval fantasy style of an axe. And then I was, of course, wanting to get really fun and creative with it. So not only is it an axe that you end up using two hands with, but it's also it also has like a blade on the inside. And I forget what the Japanese name is for one of those where there's a blade hidden in something. Point being though is that I wanted to have something like that where she could basically have move from a two-handed weapon to two weapons for dual wielding and everything. So that was part of the expanded nature of her character. Um, but what I've also gone a little bit back and forth on, and I'm still a little bit more settled now with the idea of her being a creature that has a much longer lifespan than let's say like our main character or human beings in general. Not just because of her elf side of her, but the other creature or other species that she's a part of. So I wanted to go ahead and kind of give an idea that like she has been through a good chunk of different lifetimes of her life, where she had started out, as kind of a common warrior. She joined the kind of the what would be the rough equivalent of the army of the warrior army of the elves, and went on battles and campaigns. Rose up in the ranks of getting into leadership there. Had her own kind of again kind of crude. I'm trying to think of like modern things that or modern stories that we can equivalent. She had like an elite strike force team, and she went on different like little missions with that strike force team. And then there's like a vengeance arc in there that leads her eventually, as we start getting into the story, where she and this main guy Tim Garn meet. And little bit of spoilers there is what leads us into the first story that we will end up doing for Gobimac. But yeah, so she's she's roughly about I think 5'6", 5'8". She's got a really good muscle structure to her body frame. Initially, I kind of liked oh goodness, why am I forgetting her name? Damn it. I'm seeing the face. Fast and the Furious. Michelle Rodriguez. There we go. That's the first thing I think of when I think of Fast and Furious is Michelle Rodriguez. Sorry, Vin Diesel, but but yeah, initially like Michelle Rodriguez, and the character Letty and everything like that. I did this one drawing where it's kind of like the same kind of tank top and everything, and I was just like, yeah. And then over time now, I've actually kind of added some more muscle and bulk to her size. And the kind of counter to that is a little bit of Xena and Gabrielle influence. Is the character Lily? We'll draw her next. Lily is oops, I keep grabbing the wrong button. Lily is one of these characters that is initially starts out as a companion to Aneda, traveling on the adventures, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. There is almost a really decent parallel of Xena and Gabrielle influence there between the characters because I really did want to have um, that kind of chemistry, that kind of similarity. Hard time with this head, and completely all the way down to the fact that while they alluded to a romantic relationship with Xena and Gabrielle, mostly kind of fan led, um, these two characters actually are in a romantic relationship together, and so I go ahead and I do that. So there is the kind of the fantasy wish fulfillment aspect of a lot of this, you know. I mean, just to be blunt and straightforward about it, it is a human being that's traveling with two attractive female elves, and of course the female elves are in a relationship together. So the the whole thing is always going to be for me a bit of fantasy wish fulfillment type stuff, but I'm not trying to create something that I'm trying to, you know, get millions and millions and millions of dollars from, and I'm not trying to create a product or something like that that is a product and a story that is gonna appeal to a mass audience. For me, I'm just kind of creating a fun story and the stuff that comes up in my mind. So I went ahead and said, okay, well, we'll stick with it, and we'll go ahead and make, you know, Lily and Aneda in a relationship together. I really like it, and what I really liked about the Xena and Gabrielle version that I wanted to carry over to these two characters, the fact that you do have the little sweet and innocent ish kind of character and the rough, tough, and tumble character, and those two have that juxtaposition of how either one of them handles a situation. Um, and they're both warriors and adventuresome characters. And so when you have a fish out of water character like Tim Garn, the main guy here, um, yeah, when you have him in play, that's where we get to use him as a little bit of the audience. You see it through his eyes, um, but it's also seen through a character that his character is, is essentially me. What would I do if I was in a world where elves exist, fantasy medieval things exist, monsters and great amazing fantastical creatures exist. you know um there's the freaking out period, but then there's most likely the oh my god, this is awesome period. And part of that oh my god, this is awesome is, it honestly would be freaking awesome to travel with two really attractive warrior elf characters. So, because I'm not a actual writer, I don't have any training in writing, storytelling, character creation, all of that stuff, and all this is going to be created um, from that limited training and knowledge. That's really going to be the hard part. There is how can I do this without going just like majorly into the whole fantasy with wish fulfillment aspect. I want this thing to happen because I think it would be neat, and then somebody could say that plot doesn't make sense. And I would just say it happens because, you know, somehow Palpatine returns. But yeah, so those are things that I'm gonna try to keep in mind, and I think that's part of why I like the idea these days of doing these little sessions of this anthology story, because this will get our initial introduction to these characters, and I think set the stage. And by setting the stage, that also gives me a chance to put the rules in place for those reading or checking out my stuff, and for myself that's trying to put it together. Um, what's that, unicorn? Like this style of streaming. I'm glad you're doing. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yeah, I always used to get so nervous doing this because again, I'm still trying to relearn drawing and everything, and every time I do a drawing stream, I say the same thing that I'm trying to get back into it. I'm trying to get back into it. Um, but like I said, the cool thing is now I can actually start applying a little bit more to this. This year is a year that I'm like, okay, these other responsibilities, I guess, are now officially on the back burner. So now I can say, all right, so let's start doing what I've been wanting to do for 20 years. Um, over on YouTube, good to see you. How you doing? Oh, True Morel. I always have to try to remember your screen name over on YouTube. How you doing? How you been? Mortal Kombat. Dun, 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 dun. Guess you know what song's playing on my ear in my my headphones. Dun, 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 dun. There. We'll try to do a tough of bangs here. I was just remembering the other day, shaking. I have this on a coffee table, a TV tray, excuse me. So the balancing act sometimes is frustrating. Um, I was remembering the other day. You guys remember gummy bears? One of the gummy bears, she had kind of a blonde short hairstyle, and almost reminds me of Tasha Yar from Star Trek: The Next Generation. But yeah, so but I was remembering the front bangs of hair. I gotta learn names of things too, a little bit more so. Um, I've been busy since Thanksgiving. Yeah. Um, oh, your dad went through radiation for lung cancer. Things are looking good now. I'm glad to hear that. You were away from home for almost 2 months. My goodness. Yeah, because around that, a little bit after that, I was gone for about 3 weeks, seeing family. Well, glad he's doing better. I hope that continues. Change that. Not as much of a jawline as I had. And again, these are warm ups. I really shouldn't be worrying about the details of it, but yeah. All right. So we're talking about Anita and Lily, basically a Xena and Gabrielle influence characters, right? Oh, that's a little too weird. Do it that way. Yeah, that's better. Um, but yeah, so yeah, the Xena and Gabrielle, like I said, so two warrior elves, one tough and stern, one a little bit more lighthearted and bubbly to an extent, right? Um, but both of them, like, just really good um, at their craft and style of fighting and what they do. Um, damn, this isn't quite the well, a bit more. No, it's not quite what I had in mind, but we'll get to work on more style and design and stuff later. It's all in progress. So, um, and Lily's got the obnoxious, and I mean that affectionately, um, amount of freckles. And yeah, I've been wanting to get like a lot more extreme with the whole freckles. The more I had thought about this character over the years, and so we'll have fun with that in later designs, I think. Okay, but again, we're just sticking with the basics today. Let's see. Oh, ad break starting on Twitter here in a moment. Let's see. Trubel, is saying, "Xena, be still my heart." Yeah, I love Xena. When I was doing a lot of molecular sequencing, my primers had colorful names. One set was all Xena character names. That's awesome. Right on. Yeah, last year I ended up watching the first two episodes of Hercules that Xena had. Um, Otherwise, I'm not really too interested in watching Hercules. But yeah, I was definitely always a fan of Xena. But yeah, I was like, oh man, I could see where they were like, we make this person. Was it two or three episodes? Maybe it was three. But it was like a story arc or a couple story arcs with Xena. I think they did the introduction one, and then they did the redemption two-parter. Maybe that's what it was. Point being is, yeah, I ended up watching those not too long ago, and then I was gonna start the whole TV show of Xena, and I didn't get to it. But all right, so trying to see how well these show up for you guys. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Again, I'm pointing up with my pen, but it doesn't show up because of the filter, NVIDIA filter. Um, so with Tim Garn, the other reason, like, sorry, hold on a second. Ad break on Twit. I'll get to it in a second. All right, 10 seconds. Okay, ad break's over. just in case people couldn't hear me. Sometimes it does like the whole like throw up an advertisement all around and you can still hear me. Sometimes it cuts off the stream completely. And if I was doing my scheduled breaks, then I just don't feel like doing a break in a 2-hour stream. Um, okay, so yeah, we're talking about some of the characters' influence. I'll go ahead and skip ahead to Aneda's sister, and I'm torn whether or not I want her to still have the same elf ears or not. So what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and leave this for a marker. Um, Xen Xena's sister. Oh my goodness, Aneda's sister, Parami. Whereas um, Aneda has a pretty good build, tone and build of muscle to her. Her sister Parami puts her to shame and is just like massive on the muscles. So I'm making Parami like the even more strong sister of the bunch, and she's technically like the engineer and the person that does a lot of the technical I won't say gadgetry, but hardware. You know, like she's someone that would actually do maintenance on actual gear-driven mechanisms and everything like that. You'd see her with the hard hat on and the the big huge lunk of metal that you got to put into something to shift it and move it. Um, yeah. So she's that kind of character with that kind of strength. But in addition to that, the other species that their father is, I'll say it that way, um, has horns. So that's what the other thing was is um, Parami has horns. Let me move this over a little bit. This is starting to go. Maybe I actually should. Yeah. Uh, actually, take that off that layer. Oh, that's part of it. Is the program is not maximized, and it keeps leaving it when I top the top bar. Touch the top bar. Uh, do a new layer. All right, paste. That way we just have this on an entirely different layer and I don't have to worry about the whole can I fit the horns in kind of thing. But yeah, so Harami, while Aneda is the oldest of 17 kids, Parami is the second oldest. Um, Needless to say, they have a big family. We're gonna keep conversation on that to a minimum, whether you feel that's a good thing or a bad thing. The point is that their family has a lot of siblings, and the two eldest sisters, Aneda and Parami, um, are pretty much there for the family a good chunk of the years that they've been around. Um, and so through both the sisters, there's a considerable kind of leadership in the family quality to both of them. Both have those kind of aspects. Whereas the rest of the siblings after that always look up to their their elder sisters, right? But they don't have a desire to lead the family or do anything. They have their own things that they do and whatnot. So, um, a little bit of part of that is honestly just the fact that I didn't really come up with a lot of backstory for all the other sisters. At some point, I did tell myself we've got to um, I've got to come up with all 17 so that I could say here they are. What I do know is the last two sisters. The youngest are twins, and that's Mindy and Mandy. And specifically, they have human style names for a reason, but that'll be focused on more around the time of actually doing their story. But the fun part about their story, I know I should be talking about Paramy some more. But the fun part about their story is the fact that they are the young, obnoxious brats of the family. So um, I get to play with that. I think later on down the road when I do their story. But Paramy, I'll say, or what am I comfortable saying here? Paramy becomes a really valuable community leader in kind of the elf metropolis that I have in the story. She's responsible for a lot of, I guess, I'll say rebuild after several different kind of wars and battles that their city has gone through. Um, because she is of that nature of design and engineering and structural capabilities and everything like that. She's also the kind of person that would work well with that kind of leadership in the elf community. In the elf community itself, I had to. I'm having to change it again because I'm finding out later on how much I've been loosely influenced by Lord of the Rings, Dungeons and Dragons, and a variety of other things without realizing it. So some things I am specifically changing because I'm like, I most likely somehow got that from all of these other stories. As I'm finding out more and more about D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, I'm starting to realize like, ooh, okay. So speaking of which, so Paramy is, I think, loosely influenced by tiefling characters. Is that the right word for Dungeons and Dragons? Most recently, Baldur's Gate, Karlach. Love Karlach. And I realized it's like, oh my god, Karlach and Paramy are pretty much like that's the structure. A little bit more muscle, but not by much. In Paramy's design. But then I was like, oh, the horns. Oh yeah, I love it. Um, and what's that? True Morale's asking, does their large family all get along? I'll say at least in the sense of they're not they have disagreements, but but none of them from what I've wanted to do with their family, their kind of story. None of them disagree to the point where they can't, make some sort of amends and things happen. Um the hardest part is the two young obnoxious twins. That's right there, but that is youth speaking, the the immature nature of them because they haven't fully developed themselves. Um, in age, they are probably considered to be like early to mid 20s, our age of human beings, but in that maturity of responsibility, they do lean a little bit younger in that maturity level. But I wanted to play that carefully, just to be perfectly honest. Is like I wanted to play that carefully because I don't want them to be underage. I want them to be of age. You know, it's just that maturity level. They're obnoxious is the difference. So I always wanted to put that out there because again, that could always be kind of rough for people to try to understand where you're going with some of that, as we've seen with some anime over the years. We're not going to go into those particular aspects, but yeah, there are uncomfortable things about anime that people have pointed out that they don't like when it comes to age. So therefore, I'm like, nope, these are definitely of age. Um, my maternal grandmother was the oldest of 15. The stories I heard, a- and that's it, right? Is like part of me wants so I have a side of my family that's had a lot of kids at one point, and I would hear stories just like how to make it work, with that much family, and the things about the eldest of those family members having to essentially be the third and the fourth and the fifth parent. Whoop, cancel. Oh, right, there's buttons on the side here, so I just flicked one. You guys didn't see it though, I don't think. But yeah, so that's kind of the fun aspect about it is when you are those eldest children, you start taking on extra responsibilities of raising the family along with your parents, right? And uh-oh, do just trying to get this back up. You guys can't hear anything other than me speaking, right? I think I have a hard time doing Twitch mobile and yeah. Thanks. Nope, the image is paused. Oh well. So yeah, again, I'm listening to music on a different set of headphones underneath my clamshell ones, and that's Bluetooth connected to my phone. Anyways, let's get back to it. I just realized it too. We got about half an hour left, and we still technically got a lot of characters to go through. So that'll be part of tomorrow's. This will probably start working on some of my other stories. But yeah, Parami is a character that is most likely going to be around the elf metropolis that I have. Um, Most of her life is spending around that place because she, again, helping design it, helping to keep it, upkeep it, help it, help put all of it together. And we're talking at that point like 20, 40 years worth of work. And I mentioned earlier that these elves are long lived, not only because of their elf lifespan, but the other species that their father is. And let's kind of roughly put in where the horns are going to start. Um, I don't know if I've been trying to think about a new design for the horns. And I don't know if I'm going to really worry about that today, but at some point I do want to work on a new design for them. The horns are supposed to have at least like two front parts that are out here, and then they come back to the head. And I've kind of mixed up a little bit on the horns over the years, but this is kind of roughly how they sit. Um, and I think part of it again is like as I started to get used to Dungeons and Dragons and some of the Lord of the Rings mythos and everything that's put together by these other brilliant and wonderful writers. I'm wanting to see if I can say, okay, here's where influential stuff, like I said, like the tone of Xena and Gabrielle. This is where that influential stuff is stuff I want to carry over, and then this is where I'm like, nope, I'm directly getting it from this. Let's not do that and completely change some of those things. So that's what we're also going to feel out over the course of the next several months. I think of doing these is that we'll see where we want to adapt influences and where we want to try to do our own thing, and where we want to steer clear of some of those influences because they're just too similar. Oh wow, the Chemical Brothers! Holy cow! What I always loved about this is another influence I'll admittedly put together. Paramy's hairstyle is roughly influenced by Red Monica, created by Joe Madureira. Um, I wanted to have a character that just had that really fun, all over the place kind of hair. Now, practically, that doesn't make sense for somebody that's an engineer. Um, that hair's going to get caught on gears and mechanisms. Um, so I've kind of worked on other varieties of styles and designs and ideas. But then I again reminded myself some of this really is just because it's fun. It's fun to do, fun to draw, fun to put together, and we can we can bend reality a little bit on how some of this stuff works. It doesn't all have to be exactly logical. So we'll see how it goes. God, I'm trying to remember how much of this I did, how much it used to flow and be all over the place. Jim Lee talks about that in A Visit with the Comic Book Greats with Stan Lee, where he's being interviewed and he's drawing characters and stuff like that for Stan Lee and whatnot. If you guys haven't seen that, Visit with the Comic Book Greats, it's on YouTube. You got Stan Lee interviewing Jim Lee on a video, Rob Liefeld on a video. I think he does have one with like Todd McFarlane, Mark Silvestri, Louis Potasio. I think. I think that's that many of the guys that did initially go off to do Image Comics, and it was right at that time where they were doing that. So while it was cool, like Stan Lee was doing that, obviously one of the hearts of the matter was the fact that these artists were leaving for making their own. They were leaving Marvel to make their own company. Um, but I want to say it had appeared that it wasn't something like that Stan had too huge of a problem with, because in the Jim Lee one they actually did like a supplemental video of Wildcats, the covert action teams comic that Jim Lee ended up making for Image. So that was on that same VHS tape when I originally saw it, and I believe it's on the YouTube version as well. Add a little texture here or something. Yeah, I still kind of roughly like the idea of the horns being like this. So another thing I was talking about with Aneda with the ears is that I wanted to do a 3D like sculpture rendering of Paramy here so that she can have a so I could see like how am I going to draw from these different angles her character as well. So with her, I'm gonna on this version do not as far back elf ears. And if we decide to change our mind, we'll give her the same elf ears that Aneda has. And there's been a lot of times where I specifically drew Paramy wearing a tank top just because, again, I want her to go ahead and have that like good muscle bound look to her, and some sort of big, huge, like oversized wrench. And I say oversized, but I still want it like I want to have it so that it looks like she can carry it. Now they're stronger than humans, anyways. I'm going with that style of elves. They're stronger, quicker than humans, and all that good stuff. Um, but that's also where I do want to toy with the idea of still having some reality factors to it. If you're going to lift something heavy, you won't see the muscles grab and strain and push and everything like that. So I'll try to think of all that stuff when we do the drawings. Which again, Jim Lee brings up on that visit with the comic book greats, that he had taken some classes for mime. So talking about putting your hand against the invisible wall, and that you put applying the pressure and everything like that. So you don't just put your hand up there like, oh, there's a wall here. It's like, no, you look like you're pressing against it. All those things. So I tried to remember some of that, and that's you're talking like 1993, so 40 years later. No, 30 years later. Math. Anywho, so yep, roughly Parame's like this big, all over the place hair, horns. Um, we'll decide on whether or not she has these kind of elf ears or the other kind. I had mentioned before that there are other kinds of elves, or I was at least getting ready to mention it. In the elf metropolis. So in this world that I created, I've given it a variety of different names. Basically, pockets of other worlds, other let's just say parallel Earths, multiverses, if you really want to get into it, have been brought into this one world that my comic book universe takes place in. And I tell everybody it's roughly like a 50-mile radius or sphere of land just taken from one universe to the next. And people don't know how or why it happens, but it does. And so that's my excuse for being able to have elves and humans, have aliens, angels, demons, basically anything that I can think of for story and character and everything. That was my excuse for saying this is how this could be, and then bring it over. So with that kind of basic premise in there, that's where I start kind of creating like the story of wars are fought over, resources and land and everything like that. The people that end up surviving this dimensional shift, now have to adapt to a new world, that's not too dissimilar from their Earth or their place that they come from, if they call it Earth or whatever they call it. But the idea is that, and I still go back and forth on this. So real quick before I go on, I'm still not sure if like magically everybody knows how to speak English, because I speak English and that's the way I'm going to write it, or if I'm going to come up with some sort of mechanism of how they can all understand each other. We'll see how it goes. Sometimes a story is just fine if you just say that everybody speaks the same language and you just don't work on it. Other people really do want that nuance, and they actually want to have a reason, an excuse, or even go into in-depth story of um the fact that these characters could meet, Tim meets these two elf characters, and they don't understand a word each of them is saying, yet somehow these two elves are trying to rescue him and get him out of a hostile situation. And he's just trying to say, like, okay, I'm freaked out, but but this is cool. What are we doing? And there are things that you could do. You could gesture, say, like, you come with us to go there. You do those kind of things where you're trying to mime out action. Real quick, True Morel says, "Hair's magic. Doesn't have to follow the rules." I actually really agree with that. um, like the Babelfish. What's that, True Morel? See, yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's like I'm sure there are other stories that have obviously done a mechanism of how everybody talks to one another. The Last Starfighter and Star Trek have a universal translator, right? Last Starfighter, remember he goes like puts it on his lapel and it goes "Woo!" and they're like, we need you to get ready for this. You speak English. No, you hear English thanks to your translator, you know. And then same thing, yeah, with Star Trek. The Babelfish translates in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. See, I figured Hitchhiker's Guide would have something like that. Um, I was just watching Lil Indigestion YouTube channel. Him and his wife are doing Valheim, and I'm still like a year behind on their videos. Um, but yeah, they were talking about Hitchhiker's Guide, and that was one of the things I think, or no, that wasn't one of the things, but that was the thing that I was thinking of. Was like in Hitchhiker's Guide, that writer must have come up with something, right? Um, yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. It's like, do I want to have like, yeah, some sort of a mystical way or a creature, or do I just want to say that they all speak English? I think that's what will probably work out here in the course of the next several weeks as we build the initial stories. You put the Babelfish in your ear. Oh, did they have that in that last movie they did with oh, my buddy. Um why am I forgetting his name? He played Bilbo in Hobbit, and he was in Black Panther and some of the other um, Marvel movies. Damn, I can't remember his name now. But yeah, I couldn't remember if they had that in that movie. That's the last adaptation of Hitchhiker's Guide I've seen. I did briefly see a something on BBC, but I didn't watch all of it. I didn't get to watch all of it. But yeah, so yeah, I mean that's the options, right? Is that you could certainly do some sort of a there are all sorts of options. It's just finding one that I think fits with what I want to do. Um, well, we got roughly 15 minutes here. Um, trying to think. Bad Touch by Bloodhound Gang is on. Could certainly sing that out loud, could I? Couldn't I? Nothing wrong with that. There we go. Rogue Squadron, how you doing? Hey, it's Art Attack. Art Attack. Oh, we start talking about Hitchhiker's Guide, and that's why you're tuning in. It's good to see you, man. What's new? Um, let's see. Again, I'm trying to think of which character I want to do in 15 minutes. Recapping again. Yeah, Tim, Aneda, and Lily from left to right. And again, people have seen me draw these characters before, but we just gotta kind of get back to doing it again, get back in the grind. That way we can continue forward from here. Um, got to the plains after doing the mountain and motor man. Uh, the what is a well vicious? Yeah. Oh god, I keep doing it. Chumbawamba, mouthful of shit. What a song. Oh yeah, which album is this on? I wanted to the self-titled album, Chumbawamba. Okay. Um, Chumbawamba's Tub Thumping album finally is available on YouTube Music. It wasn't for the longest time because of rights management or something. So over the years, I've been listening to two other Chumbawamba albums, and then this self-titled one, and now, yeah, Tub Thumping is available. Oh, the mobs are vicious. Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, see, now I'm even further away from chat, being on my drawing monitor over here. Damn it, stop doing that. So that's what I'm doing is you guys can't see it, but well, you can kinda see it. I'm touching this top bar. Oh, you can see the bump in that. Um, well, do I wanna draw a little bit, or actually do I wanna go ahead and say, we put up the GOBIMAC and type for a couple minutes? Yeah, because I won't be able to really kinda finish another drawing. But, it's like, character so far, uh, Tim Garn. Gotta get my new keyboard out. Got a new one not too long ago. Aneda, Lily, like Sharon, Madonna, no last names. In similar fashion to some other things, they're Aneda, daughter of, Lily, daughter of, that kind of thing. Parami, I had mentioned Dr. Demolition. There's Lady Sparks. Who else do I want to burn with an E? But he does have uh, fire powers, burning powers. Lady Sparks, I think that's obvious. Much like Jubilee, she does out little sparks and stuff like that. And then Doctor Demolition, destructive hands, and all of them will have something else to them in their story. Um, let's see, Professor. How do you spell Proteus? Proteus, is that right? Professor Proteus. Um, the Justicar. I think that's how you spell. Or is it Ciar? Or Cair? Just a car? Just a car? Something like that. The Justicar is essentially my story's Superman. The hero that wins all the time, the big long cape, and the character the super character that is the hero all the time, but there's a twist to that particular story. And then Polytech tech techno last um guy gal. I never did come up with their names. But yeah, Polytechnoless has a oh, and I actually did come up. Priyanka is the fourth character. Um, I like that name. Priyanka Chopra, actress. I was like, yes, okay, I like a Priyanka for a name. Um, and that character is India Pakistani. So I wanted to go ahead and have the name fit in similar fashion with that. So yeah, that's right. Yeah, I never did come up with guy and gal. Um, I did mention two other names. What's that? Mandy. Unbelievable. Oh. Um, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Wait, 11, yep, 12, 15. So that's 15 characters right there of kind of core characters for story. The first story, I don't know. Can you guys see that very well? Do I need to make it bigger? How's that? I'm ruining the immersion of the shadow behind the Google Doc. I did that like 5 minutes before the stream started. I created a another image to put behind it, make it pop out. There. This is that big of a deal, right? And over on Kick, that's a no-no. That's self-advertising. Got to time me out for that. Boop. Again, I know those are bots or whatever accounts, but I gotta say it out loud. I'm gonna time me out. Um, so going forward, as we start to do these drawing streams and comic book creation streams, um, I'm gonna have to again try to find a way to pre-set up some of this so that I only talk about stuff I'm willing and comfortable to talk about. Tomorrow we'll go ahead and draw some more of these characters. Now that we have the list, I could draw the rest of the characters. We'll take a break on Wednesday, play some Valheim, right? On Thursday and Friday, one of the things I'm wanting to do is probably work on a format of how I'm going to actually put this together. And there's a couple different ideas that I'm just going to kind of outright say, and we're going to see if we can get some audience participation from you guys then. Um, we don't get much on live streams, but if you guys get a chance to tune in for those, I am going to look for some feedback. Otherwise, if you're on YouTube, I'm asking that go ahead and post in the YouTube comments after the stream is over, the recorded VOD version, um, what I end up talking and asking about for some feedback. So, anybody that gets a chance to come back to some of the videos, yes, it is my way of trying to get more views by getting you to come back to the videos. But any chance that I get to have you guys get to come back to the video and comment some extra stuff later.
Helm 108! Helm's 108.
Philothea interrupting the end of the stream. I love you guys. I'm kidding. But yeah, any chance that we get to have some feedback, please do check out the VODs on YouTube. This is probably your best bet to comment on there. That was loud. Wait, louder than usual? I mean, felt like it. Oh, it shouldn't be because I haven't adjusted anything on my microphone. Or did you mean the audio? Yeah, I haven't adjusted that either. Anywho, yeah, we're wrapping up here though. So yeah, basically, I'm gonna take the rest of the characters. We'll draw them tomorrow, or as many of them we can get out tomorrow, and then I will focus on giving you guys some format and some ideas of what I'm gonna do building this comic book. And what I mean by that is, am I gonna do traditional comic book that is, tall more than it is wide? And by doing so, are we going to do it's originally 11 inches by, 11 inches by 17 inches, roughly. There's the trim that print has. We're not worried about the details of that. But I would draw on 11 by 17 sheet of paper when I do the traditional artwork itself. If we're going to do some stuff digitally and it's going to be story, I'm going to see if I want to um, just do something different. Now, what I could do later is I could take everything digitally and we could probably piece and move it around so that it fits in the format of a printed comic book and we could print stuff later. But right now, that's not what the focus and concern is really the focus and concern is actually getting it done. So that's what GOBIMAC is. Good or bad, I made a comic book. Is me trying to manifest at least like this first anthology story. So that's what we're going to work on over the next several weeks and months, however long it takes to actually get it done. And so every little drawing stream for this, it'll have the GOBIMAC, however you want to say it. It'll have that in the title. It'll say, today's day one. So it'll have day two, day three, so on and so forth until we get it done. It's ready to go. Patreon supporters will get an extra bit of art that I do off stream. They'll probably get some more finished art pieces, or at least get to see it first. So if you guys are wanting to support on Patreon, it's patreon.com/Greg Scott Bailey. And again, I'm all things Greg Scott Bailey online. So if you're trying to find me on social media, if you're trying to find me Patreon, that's all you have to do is look up Greg Scott Bailey. It's all one word. But yeah, Patreon supporters, I do have the free version. I do post some updates to the free members of Patreon, so you don't even have to do a paid support. But if you guys want to do the paid support, you also will get access to my Discord as well. But you're going to get a lot more of the extra artwork and the finished artwork, or at least see it sooner than others. Um, Finally, maybe that's because it wasn't up against the Valheim soundtrack. Oh, that's possible too. Yeah. Freaker, good evening. How you doing? Rogue Squadron with 1G, not 2, like Greg's the Bakers? What? Oh, right. Yeah, you guys have something in the UK that's Greg's Bakery or something that's with 2 G's at the end. And again, we used to joke about that, right? Is the um Greg with 2 G's, you know, is what I mean by at the end. But when I would say Greg with 2 G's, someone's like, "Well, yeah, G at the beginning, G at the end." And I'm like, "No. I mean 2 G's at the end." Oh, alright. Seven Nation Army was playing by White Stripes. Done with the music now. And again, just to reconfirm, like, you guys didn't hear, any music during that whole stream, right? It all didn't come out of the headphones and somehow transmit on the mic? Rogue Squadron says exactly for the 2Gs conversation. We're talking about 4G and 5G. I'm just talking about 2Gs. 2 grand? Sure, why not? Make it out to Greg Scott Bailey. Alright. Yeah, and again, a little more recap on the artwork here. Um, I could technically move her over here, even though she's on a different layer. And GOBIMAC, GOBIMAC. If it's good or bad, I made a comic book. Would it be GOBIMAC? Ah, good times. Freaker, only if it's cranked? Only if what's cranked? Sorry, what was that in response to? Um, shoot. Yeah, I didn't really have kind of like an outro for wrapping these up. The music. Only if it's cranked. The music. No, I mean like legitimately you guys didn't hear any music at all though while I was talking, right? And Freaker, I think you came in later, so mostly everybody that was here for the 2 hours. Only in your head, Rogue Squadron. Nobody ever wants to give a straight answer when I ask a straight question. Freaker, you didn't hear a single thing? Okay. Yeah. For those coming in late, I've got second set of headphones underneath the big clamshells that are connected to my phone for my YouTube music, so that I could listen to music separately. Now, later on, when I appropriately set up my office, um, I'll be able to separate that with my wave mixer, digital mixer, and so that I can hear it, but it won't transmit over the stream. Yeah, we'll get back to that at some point. All right, good times. Okay, so yeah, there we go. We started off with Tim Garn, a real like I don't know, I'm not happy with it. But naturally moved on to Aneda, Lily, and Parami to at least get some other characters started. Um, Lily's a little bit too. Um, I don't know. I need to make some adjustments. But I'm pretty happy with getting back into it. That I could at least kind of churn out some sketches like this and get roughly the characters the way that they are going to be, and we'll work on fine tuning them over the coming weeks here. Now I had mentioned before that I was going to try to relearn to draw at some point too, and so the hard part there is how do I take what I already know, rewind back to the basics, and it's just been very difficult for me to try to do that. We had a suggestion about me trying to learn left-handed. When I grew up, I did grow up ambidextrous, and I was right and left-handed. I ended up choosing right hand. Long story there, but the the hard part about that is when I did try to draw left-handed, I still was just not wanting to go back to the absolute basics, and it was more frustrating than I really wanted it to be. Doesn't mean that if I try again and try again and try one more time that I could possibly use that to kind of start back at the beginning of the basics. I really did like that suggestion, so maybe I'll give that a shot, a chance. But the other factor is I just want to get this stuff going. Not done. That's the where I was leaning. I want to get it done. I want to get it going. I don't want to actually get it done. So this was a good warm up tonight. So I appreciate you guys coming out for it. One last bit of drawing. Or sorry, once I did a drawing of the alien from the aliens movies. Was younger, pretty proud of at time. Um, it turned out really well. Nice. That's the Giger type style. I to be able to make intricate structure like the aliens from Aliens, Alien and Aliens, to be able to make that intricate structure and then to actually give it substance and form that actually feels like it is real is incredible. Yeah, I've always been a fan of that. Not something I would be able to do, but I've always been a fan of it. So yeah, I really dug some of the art books I saw. A friend of mine had all of his books, so I was always able to go through and check them out. So, all right, folks, yep, we're over the hour. Again, these are just going to be 2 hour sessions. So tonight is done. Day two will be tomorrow. Wednesday, we'll be back to Valheim for a 4 hour session. And then Thursday, Friday will be drawing sessions, 2 hours each. Next week, we are going to work on a new schedule. I just want to go ahead and knock out a good chunk of art streams this week so I can really get back into it. And I also needed to fine tune the stream to have my extra monitor hooked up and have OBS pick it up correctly. So I think we got it worked out. I, I even was a couple minutes late. But I appreciate you guys coming out tonight. Thank you so much for the support and the commentary that I've gotten from everybody. I really appreciate it. Lastly, as always, I like to thank the lurkers. People come in and watch the streams and don't say anything. Love having you here. Don't feel obligated to chat, even if I beg and plead for conversation. But if it's because you don't have a topic of conversation that you're not saying anything, well, I love talking about comic books, TV shows, movies, and of course, whatever's I'm streaming at the time. So I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you all for coming out tonight. As always, we'll see you on the next adventure. All right. Bye bye.